This week on RSBANDB Update, it's time for the much-anticipated sequel to Cook's Assistant. Chef's Assistant delivers pop culture references, a fresh free-to-play experience, and, of course, Cheesecake. Also, thoughts on the Quest quality of life updates and spaghetti lore. This is RSBANDB Update, episode 711, recorded Thursday, February 14th, 2019. Say Cheesecake. Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us once again for another episode of RSBANDB Update, coming to you on Valentine's Day. You know, we were just talking in pre-show that says something when we're all dedicating time on Valentine's Day to record a podcast.
I like to think of it as we have so much love for RuneScape and the RSBANB community that this is a way we can express it on the most loving of holidays. Right?
Yeah, and we'll see that in the achievements as well later on. But joining us, of course, for this Quest week is Diana from Clan Quest. You'll remember her from that epic Needle Skips podcast that we did back in November. I don't think anything's ever going to top that quest.
3 hours. Yeah, no, it's been the best one for a long time. So, yeah, great to be back here.
But, you know, we have to have all kinds of quests in RuneScape. You can't have every quest be like the Needle Skips. You do have to have some variety in there. And what we're going to be talking about primarily this week is Chef's Assistant, which is, of course, the sequel to Cook's Assistant that came out 18 years ago in January of 2001. The first RuneScape quest. And, you know, I don't know if that was the first quest I did. I think my first quest was Ernest the Chicken.
Of course it was.
Yeah.
I would expect nothing else from you, Shane.
Well, hey, at least we come by it honestly, right?
Yeah. It actually was the first. Not only was it the first quest I did, it was one of the first things I did before membership, and was one of the things that prompted me to get my membership within a couple of days.
Oh, wow.
Of playing the game. Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
I
played for a few months before taking up membership when the content was starting to feel a bit gated. How about you, Diana? How long was it before you got membership?
Oh, depends. I had a very old account back when, I think 2005, 2006,
okay,
which was the one I played Chef's Assistant on for the first time.
Right.
And I think I had membership on that for a little while. And then my current account I've only had for a couple of years, and I had membership from the start from that one.
All right, fair enough. Mm-hmm. So speaking of Chef's Assistant, the requirements for this quest are level 32 cooking and the completion of Cook's Assistant. And, you know, the whole point of this quest is that, well, the cook in Lumbridge, or rather the cook in the cooking guild, the head chef, has heard about your adventures with the Lumbridge cook, and he wants you to make a new recipe for him and put him on the map. And what is it this time? Nothing but cheesecake.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the point in time in which I need to be completely honest with the audience of this podcast. I hate cheesecake.
This is incorrect.
But everyone kind of knows that because they know you're not quite right. No, just a little off.
Well, to be true, it's a case of severe lactose intolerance. Anything, anything heavy dairy like cheese and whatnot.
Coward.
That's a little bit better. I thought you just were like, you didn't like cheesecake. I couldn't wrap my mind around that. Like, how? But it comes in every flavor, Shane.
Yeah, it does in this quest, doesn't it? So. This quest is a standard RuneScape bottle quest that we saw in the early days of the game, 03 to 06, those kind of quests. And, you know, just run around, do this, do X, Y, Z, and quest complete. You can pretty much complete this one in, I'd say, under 15 minutes. How long did it take you guys?
Yeah, 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It's not very long. And it's reminded me a lot of the basic free-to-play quests of, 2005, 2006, which was very sweet. I think it was quite nice in that way.
Yeah, and as an example of this, we mentioned that you mentioned free-to-play, and this is actually a free-to-play quest, which is something that we don't get much of today in RuneScape.
Yeah, they didn't really shout about it that much either.
No. I think if you go to the news posting on the for this update, let's see, where does it say that? Does it say free-to-play? Yeah, it's actually, no, they don't. Actually, yeah, they do. Sorry. Combat free, free-to-play bottle quest. So it's right there on the front page. Yeah. And, I think this is good because it gives the folks who are playing RuneScape for the first time and, might have just picked up the game a glimpse that, hey, these quests that are in-game are not stale and they're actually something that we are going to be getting should I become a member. There's going to be new quests every so often. And, hey, this is what Jagex can do today in 2019 in terms of producing a quest. So I think it was a good choice to make this one free to play, and they had to, given the lineage of it. So
yeah. It's a very nice early level kind of, if you've been playing for a couple of months, quest to have to add in. Yeah. Slot in there before you get into the meaty stuff. And
also with this, if you are leveling up, you are going to, of course, reap the benefits of this cheesecake and have it as a new kind of food that you can eat, and it does restore prayer points. We'll talk more about the exact values later on with this, but you start the quest by talking with the head chef in the cooking guild, and he's, of course, heard of your various successes, and he wants the cheesecake. And you learn that cheesecake is made from cream cheese, a pot of cream, and biscuits. And it's an item that doesn't actually get cooked on a stove. You just mix it all together into a cake tin. And lo and behold, there you have a cheesecake. You're asked, okay, where do I get the cream cheese from? Well, you got to go to the creamery in Falador, which is in Philadelphia's house. And...
Brilliant.
I just got that.
I love it so much.
I just got that. For those wondering, of course, Philadelphia cream cheese.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I didn't pick that up during the quest. It took me saying it out loud to hear that.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Okay. Then a pot of cream and then the biscuits. So in getting the cream cheese from Falador, you discover that Philadelphia's house, and that's what I'm going to just call it now because of that.
Just go to Philadelphia now.
Yeah, you discover that their dairy churn is indeed broken and it needs to be repaired using standard logs, which of course you can find in Falador, and then steel bars. If you've been interacting with the mining and smithing rework, the artisan's workshop is right across the street. So fairly simple to repair the dairy churn there, and I think everybody probably has steel bars around that they were using from the mining and smithing rework if they've been paying any attention to all the NPCs in game and whatnot. So there's that. Where did you guys get your milk?
Oh, I raided the chest in the basement of the of Lumbridge Castle.
Okay.
I couldn't bother to run around doing it all, so I just went there and picked everything up I needed.
Same.
All right. And, this is, I guess, the way I think of the game. I went north of Falador, and I actually milked a cow.
Oh.
I thought that was... I didn't even know you could do it in Fally. I knew it was Lumbridge.
No, the...
South of Falador, there's a
south of Falador, sorry. Yeah.
Oh, yes, okay. I got you.
With where the cabbage port is and whatnot, so...
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, you head back to Philadelphia, and with that... You basically make the cream cheese on their dairy churn, you turn it around a bit, and lo and behold, you get your cream cheese. You can also, of course, in the dairy churn, make butter, a pot of cream, and for anybody who's actually done this before in real life, I don't know if you guys have done this, but you can take cream and you can, of course, convert it into butter and whatnot by hand. So I don't know of anybody who does that in the modern world.
No, luckily, I wasn't born Amish, and we have grocery stores.
I did that in school one day when I was young.
One of our neighbours does it, but it's just kind of a artisan, handmade cheese and butter and stuff, and sells for ridiculous prices, but no one really does it anymore.
Is it any better than the stuff you get at the store?
No. It comes in nicer packaging. and it's like 3 times the price, but that's about it, really. Just go to Tesco. It's easier.
All right. So continuing on from this, dairy puns and dairy ideas aside, milking cows aside, you get your cream cheese, and with that, you make the cheesecake using a cake tin. And in order to do that, first you need biscuits, and this is something that wasn't makeable or cookable in game rather before. To make biscuits, what you need flour and butter mixed together, and then you bake them and you get biscuits, which is good.
It'd be a disgusting biscuit dough if you made that in real life. Where's the sugar?
This is something I want to ask about. Aren't biscuits something else in the UK? It's not what us Americans call biscuits, is it?
Oh, of course. Okay, we're going to have this
biscuits
argument.
Are cookies in the UK.
I think they meant in game.
Okay, see, because I was like, who would make a cheesecake with biscuits?
They're not like American biscuits. They're not like scones or scones or however you say it. They are sweet, and they're more like I want to say hobnobs. That's what you use in a cheesecake, but I don't know if you have hobnobs. So I don't know. Cross-Atlantic translation doesn't really work.
Yeah, I don't know. I just like our biscuits are used for like gravy. And
you wouldn't.
It's a southern thing.
I think that's a very southern thing. But God, I hadn't thought of that. Biscuits might have caused a bit of confusion across the pond.
I just assumed it was cookies because, I mean, you need something sweet as a base for the bottom of the cheesecake. So
let's just say cookies.
I just thought, no wonder people say the food's bad if they cook it like this.
The food's not that bad in the UK.
I know. I'm using common stereotypes.
Okay. Another option for cheesecake is graham crackers.
Yes.
Oh, yes, that's right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Don't ask me how I know that. I just do. But
yeah, for a guy that doesn't like cheesecake, you know an awful lot about it.
Yeah, it could just be that I know how to cook.
Or maybe you just don't like cheesecake because you can't have it. Like, you're just mad. You're like, I really want you, but I can't have you. No one should have you.
Well, it's a double prong for me because when it comes down to cheesecake, it's not just the dairy side of it. There is the stigma associated with it in the past that cheese is in some cases smelly, and I don't also like the texture of it either. So that's kind of transferred onto cheesecake. Even though I am aware if a cheesecake is done properly, it shouldn't have the cheesy smell to it, right?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever experienced that before. So I don't know. Yeah.
Anyways, cheesecake aside in the real life, moving on from that. So what you do with that is you grab a cake tin from up top in the Cook's Guild. And, it took me a while to figure this out. I forgot that one actually spawned up there.
It's been forever since I even went up there.
Yeah. And so after you bake your biscuits on the range, you'll grab the cake tin, and then you just click on one of the ingredients in the cake tin, and lo and behold, you have a cheesecake. And is this how it works, that you don't actually cook cheesecake in an oven?
You can do. Like...
I don't know the recipe or nothing. I just like to eat it.
American cheesecakes you bake.
Oh, okay.
You can cook them, but all the ones I've ever made, you just whack them in the fridge, and ta-da, cheesecake.
Interesting. All right, fair enough. All right, so you make the cheesecake, and then after that, you need to deliver the cheesecake to 3 members of the Cooks, Apprentices, and Kitchen Expert Society. Or the Cake Society.
I didn't notice that.
I noticed that one right off the bat. That is one I noticed.
Oh, dear. Can't believe I missed that.
Did you guys...
Cake Society?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that a Great Society pun, or what?
I don't know. Cooks, Apprentices, Kitchen Experts. So... Did you guys also notice that when you talk to the chef, it's no chef or yes chef? If any of you guys have ever watched Hell's Kitchen,
I saw that. Yes, chef. I saw the buttery biscuit base reference as well, but I think that's particularly niche. I don't know.
Where is that one from?
Oh, it's from a very old meme of MasterChef.
Oh,
okay. And it was someone saying buttery biscuit base, and someone put it to like a wrap, and it was it was very funny for about 5 years about 5 years ago. So that was a nice little reference.
Okay. So as you can see here, this is another thing that the traditional RS quests do, and that is bring in little pop culture references here and there, and
break the fourth wall.
Break the fourth wall a bit, and except there was no yelling at you by the chef when you would mess up making the cheesecake, because of course couldn't be messed up here in RS. So
that just messed up my whole immersion.
Really?
Getting yelled at by Chef Ramsay.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
I'm joking, Shane.
All right, fair enough. Anyways, you need to deliver these samples to the Lumbridge cook, the cook at the Jolly Boar Inn, northeast of Falador, and Sergeant Ramsay in the Pick and Loot pub next to the Taverley Lodestone. And then after you do that, they will vote, and they all give you, of course, a yes that the chef from the Cook's Guild is indeed invited into the Cake Society, the Cook's Apprentices and Kitchen Experts Society. So after that, it's quest complete. That's all there is. That's all there is to Chef's Assistant in the actual quest itself. So before we move on to rewards, anything else from the quest that you guys want to bring up? Anything that you guys want to mention? Any other references and the like?
Well, there was the obvious Gordon Ramsay reference at the end there, and it was really jarring hearing the voice acting again for the Taverley NPCs, because when you went to talk to them to start with, before you entered the quest dialogue, there was the voice actor, and it was a shock to hear it again.
Right. And then when they started talking about the quest, it ended.
It was just silence. It was quite inconsistent. I thought maybe they could have, I don't know, just turned it off maybe for that part, just to make it a little less
If you're in the
jarring,
quest, just disable voice acting if the quest is active or you're going to talk to that NPC. But conditionally, that would be a pretty hard thing to do just for the quest, I imagine. So,
especially for such a little quest.
Yeah, and you know, we did get spoiled with the needle skips. So
we did.
Rewards for this are 1 quest point, 1,500 cooking XP in the form of a lamp, 3 cheesecakes, as well as the ability to make cheesecakes and biscuits. The cheesecakes are interesting. I don't know if anybody will make any biscuits. What do you guys think? You think biscuits will have a use, or just for cheesecake?
I think just for cheesecake, unless I didn't think they had anything special other than they're just some biscuits.
Okay. Well, now comes the point of the show where we can actually talk about cheesecake and all the different variants and some of the really absurd variants in the quest. Well, first up is vanilla cheesecake. I think that is fairly normal, right?
That's standard.
It's pretty just vanilla. Mm-hmm.
That one heals 300 health as well as 59 prayer points. The next up is chocolate. That one could be normal too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Then we have strawberry as well. I mean, strawberry and fruit goes well with cheesecake, probably, right?
Oh yeah.
Well,
one of my favorites.
Okay, good. All right. And then after that is where it starts to become a little bit absurd. Lemon.
Oh no, lemon cheesecakes are really nice.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, maybe it's not absurd just yet.
Not yet.
And by the way, these health values we're talking about are per byte, so multiply that by 3.
Okay.
For this, so strawberry 1,200 for that. Then finally, the most absurd cheesecake, bacon flavored cheesecake.
I don't even want to think about that.
Exists.
It probably does, but I don't want to think about it. It's a crime.
I'd eat it. It's bacon and it's cheesecake. How could it be bad?
Ay.
It's bacon.
This one heals 500 life points per bite, as well as a number of prayer points with this as well, 99 prayer points. So, I mean, it's not as good as a prayer potion, but it's a nice combination food, right?
Yeah, I imagine for kind of low-level combat, there'll be quite a nice addition.
Yeah, definitely.
The combination of hit points and prayer points.
And, another thing I see leveling up with this is that after you do the bringing home the bacon, if you're looking to sell maybe some food, if you did that quest early on, this might be a nice XP maker, maybe a nice money maker. The bacon cheesecake is 220 cooking XP per cake. So, and you're also probably wondering where the vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry comes from, right? Well, they come from the flavored milk that you get from your player-owned farm.
Finally.
Nice to have a use for it.
Yes, good. I mean, I don't have cows because I didn't find a use for them, but now, at least there's something.
Yeah. There's also...
I'm still breeding cows.
Oh, why?
I still haven't finished that breeding log. It's so frustrating.
Oh, the breeding log. Okay. Yeah, speaking of breeding log, I'm still hunting that Daemon Cap Zygomite. It just hasn't appeared. I've got the shiny one numerous times, but still no Daemon Cap.
Get that trapper out there, Shane.
Oh, he goes every day, multiple times.
He goes every day.
Every day.
Every day, multiple
mushroom
times.
Hunting. Go fetch me a mushroom.
So, anyways, so that's pretty much it for the chef's assistant quest. Lots of new options for Cheesecake. So, always nice to see a focus on the mid-levels. And we talked about this before with the mobile blog and whatnot, how they feel, and they highlighted to everybody that, there are parts of the game that are effectively not updated as much as they should be, and that's the mid-level stuff. And this quest is a perfect opportunity to do that. So I think we come away positive with this. I want to give this quest a rating, but I mean, it's very simple. I want to give it a 4 out of 5. Anybody have any option? Any opposition?
I guess my feelings are a little more complex, I think, than just a straight number.
Okay.
Because I would probably agree with a 4 out of 5, but I don't, and I hate to bring up something that I don't know what the fix would have been, because I don't think there really necessarily is a fix for this. But like I said, in the beginning, this is kind of the quest that helped to draw me in. This was like where you realize, oh, I pick wheat, like for the original cook system, right? You pick the wheat, and then you got to grind it up, and then you put it in the flour pot.
I did that too for my biscuits.
Okay, so I mean, but you're doing all that, and to me, that was like opening up this whole world of like, wow, look at all this stuff that I can do.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like that was captured again, but maybe it's just because we are such veteran players now that and can never be captured again. Yeah.
We can go to the chest to get the items and whatnot, as you guys both did. So
But I mean, I enjoyed it. I mean, it's fine, It's just, there was something about the first cook's assistant that really roped me into the idea of the game and of questing, that I didn't get the second time around.
I sort of agree, but I do also have to, like you said, we do have to bear in mind that I think all three of us are relatively high-level players now. It is very different experiencing a quest like this when you're low to mid-level and new to the game. And I think it's a very nice addition to that sort of portfolio of little quests they've got for those sorts of levels. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I liked it. There is a massive plot hole, but it feels like such a little quest that I feel really bad nitpicking.
What's the plot hole?
That. The plot hole is that Phil and Delphi say that everyone knows about the cheesecake. He's been talking to everyone about it. We're making them for everyone. And then you present it to 3 chefs who apparently have never heard of it and have never seen it before.
Oh, okay.
And that hit me yesterday. I think, God damn it. But
maybe he's just not talking to the to his competition or his masters. Let's just say the master and the apprentice.
Maybe. Maybe.
So
I don't know. I just feel, but then again, it is such a little quest and such a sweet little quest, and it is quite nostalgic for the old style and how it was playing those little quests when you were low level.
Oh yeah,
I
mean, you get home from school and you see a new quest, or you're making your account, and you just go.
I was really taken back to kind of when I was in year 6 or year 7, back when I was playing quests like Cook's Assistant, and it was really sweet. So yeah, 4 out of 5 for me as well.
Yeah, simpler times.
Oh yeah. God, definitely. Hey, we could all go play old school for simpler time, you guys.
Let's not open that can of worms.
Hey, you wanted simpler times?
Simpler times of noob. Go kill yourself, noob. You suck. Yep, those were simple times, all right.
Yeah, that's a steep jump, and I haven't experienced the old school community firsthand, so.
Oh, you're in for a treat.
Alrighty, let's move on to the patch notes then, shall we?
Swiftly moving on.
So, patch notes wise, so there's a number of UI updates this week, and with these updates, what we ended up having was a number of UI changes for ports and Dungeoneering, and with that, I just have to say that these are UI changes that are obviously geared towards mobile, right? And I think we can all see that. So I'm just going to run through these 3 groups of UI changes, then we'll talk about them. They have updated the interfaces in player-owned ports, as well as the dual arena, and older Dungeoneering interfaces have also been completed. This includes the floor select, complexity select, floor setting, boss select, and ring customization interfaces. So, with that being said, what do we think of these interfaces? Let's start with the ports one.
That was the first one I noticed.
Okay.
And it was, I think maybe because I'm just not used to it yet. I just thought, this looks a bit weird, but it is a bit more intuitive to use.
Oh, really?
It does, okay. I think so.
So you found it more intuitive then. What would you say, what difference between the 2 interfaces helped you the most?
I see, I'm not entirely sure. I think there's the slightly different layout, and there's a couple of extra buttons that just make it a little bit clearer. And I do prefer the new visual style of it, kind of the mobile geared style, personally. Yeah. I just think it looks a bit nicer. So right. I think I just need to get used to them a little bit.
Okay. How about you, Tennis, for the ports UI?
Well, I didn't notice a big difference.
Okay.
Which made me wonder, like, am I doing it wrong? Is something broken? Like, I don't. I mean, am I missing something? Like, I don't. What are the big changes? Because I'm not.
Well, it's a bit of a UI change. It's a UI visual change and just a bit of a restructuring. So the first change you'll see is when you open up one of your ships, the resources drop down is at the top right of the ship's UI when it's also at the top of your port's UI. And it doesn't make sense to have a resources drop down in 2 UIs. It doesn't make sense to have that there. I think that's a bug, and I think they said that was potentially going to be fixed next week or something along the lines of that. So that's one thing.
See, in this case, I would rather have it on the side instead of having it pop as a drop down type of thing.
And you see, the reason they're doing this is because when you go into your ports on your mobile, it is going to take up the entire screen, your ship UI, and that's why they have to add the resource collection to that box. Right. Now, of course, everything else is a lot more flat, whereas previously most of what we had with the ports UI was tailored specifically to ports and had its own textures and sprites associated with it. And in discussion, they did say that they removed some of these textures and UIs in order to slim down the cache. Because whenever you add new cache items, such as the textures and the sprites for the images, that's going to take up extra space. And as we all know, they want to They want to minimize space used on mobile. Hence, that's why we now have a largely flat ports UI, which some people like and some people don't like. So that's number one. Then the next thing is when you select one of your ships and you choose its voyage and you choose edit crew, what you end up having with that on your ship is that you can still choose all your old ship components and whatnot as you did previously, but on the voyage list is where it gets a little bit hairy. You can click on each of the voyages on the left, and as we know, that pops up the voyage information on the right to show the stats that are needed for that trip and whatnot. The issue with this is that these are effectively set up as huge buttons, and they have pretty much the same effect as an active button would. So there's a bit of question around that side of it as well. But the biggest one comes from the reroll option in the top right, where you reroll your voyage.
I did notice that.
Mm-hmm.
There's no state to say that this is actually a button.
Yep. I mean, it kind of lights up, but that's about it.
Yeah, and it doesn't light up enough, whereas the other one was shaped like a button and, physically lit up. So, and, these are minor niggles for this, and they could all be fixed, with some changes going forward. So I'm not too concerned about this, but the people I have talked to regarding this don't like the new UI, and that's why, Diana, I was interested to hear that you actually enjoyed the UI more.
Well, I wouldn't say enjoyed it. Like, you can't really enjoy a UI, but I think, I don't know, I like how it looks, and I think people will get used to it. But I agree with what you say about the reroll. I have accidentally hit that when I didn't mean to. Yeah. So it needs almost like just a little circle around it or something to mark where the boundary is.
It's a pretty big hover area. And to be fair, they need to do that for mobile.
Right. So. Well, I also noticed that the resource list, you know what? It doesn't include the trade goods. So you still have to hover on the one, like on the main screen at the top, to see your trade goods, because it's not on the other list, which seems inconsistent, right?
Yeah.
I wonder.
Though, I mean, the good thing that comes from this under the hood is that it's using their new UI toolkit, so it should be a lot simpler to update this UI and expand it in the future.
That's good. Yeah.
Have either of you seen what it looks like on mobile?
No, I don't have mobile.
You don't have it?
No, we belong to the
iOS crowd.
Yes.
Oh. No, I was just wondering if anyone had seen it, just as a comparison. I haven't got it personally, but
that's
just
a good idea.
Like to see what it looks like.
Mm-hmm. All right, so following that, let's move on to Dungeoneering then. I think the Dungeoneering changes are less polarizing. The party UI is a lot more free-flowing, as is the floor and complexity UI. So these ones look natural, and I like these ones. I don't have any complaints with these. I didn't have anyone to duel with in the duel arena to test that one. So did you guys look at the Dungeoneering one?
I actually haven't seen it on Dungeoneering yet.
It actually looks pretty good.
Look at it.
It actually looks pretty good. These buttons are buttons for the sake of being buttons, if you know what I mean, in that they have rounded edges to them. It would be nice to see that kind of same treatment to the ports reroll UI. So.
Yeah, I didn't. You're going to have to drag me kicking and screaming to go back there.
Do you not like it?
Well, I mean, I hit 120 and got the pet when my last dungeon.
All right.
And I vowed to never go back, ever. Nice. I'm like, okay, we're done. We are done.
That is RNG saying, right, you're done. Bye-bye.
Yeah, exactly.
See, I quite like Dungeoneering. I got the pet a couple of months ago. I quite like it.
It's one of those that, like, if I have 2 or 3 good friends that I like to laugh and joke around and play with, then I like Dungeoneering. But it's kind of increasingly hard to find that, because all my friends like that, they're all 200 mil, and I mean they're not going to do dungeons now, you know. And the last thing I want to do is go in there with strangers.
I'm just doing, whenever I need to train my dungeoneering up, it'll just be sinkholes and lamps.
I could take you, Shane. We could go.
No.
I don't think I've ever done a group dungeoneering. I just solo it.
Seriously?
I'm a lone wolf. I don't.
And you like it?
I mean, yeah.
Wow.
It's not difficult. It's just a bit of fun.
Okay. Yeah. To each his own.
All right. Moving on. Switching weapons quickly will now auto switch to the correct action bar, and you got to have those quick switches as the PVM types do. So, yay.
Sure.
Worn Tetsu can no longer be traded. The slider puzzles and clue scrolls will now update reliably. This was a required cold fix from the previous week's update, so that's good. Garasho team cards will now work properly for Dungeoneering. I don't know what was wrong with them, but that's good.
See, I didn't know that was a bug, but good they fixed it.
Because you don't go with teams.
Yeah, obviously.
Smithing a bronze dagger on Tutorial Island has been updated to account for bronze bars now requiring 2 tin and 2 copper ore, and a bronze dagger requiring 2 bronze bars.
Okay.
So what I'm betting with that is that maybe Tutorial Island wasn't updated to take advantage of the mining and smithing rework. Is that
Apparently
what that
not.
reads
So
as?
weird.
Because
Must have been.
I don't think you could be in a position where they wouldn't let you progress through a tutorial, right?
Right.
We would have heard about that back in January if that was the case.
Oh yeah. It would have
So.
caused that much of a problem.
All right. Now comes the big one. The hit points of gem rocks have been reduced.
Mm-hmm. Maybe a little too much at first, huh?
Yeah, a little bit too much at first. Well, actually, no, they didn't change the HP. What they did is they just changed the rarity of onyxes. So the previous hit points of these used to be 10,000. Now they've been reduced to 1150.
Oh wow.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a big drop.
Requires 75 mining, and as you mine with a higher mining level, you have a higher chance of getting rare gems like onyx and dragonstone. So you see where this is going.
Mm-hmm.
This led to an issue on Tuesday where they had to hotfix this because onyxes were coming in at around 4 times the rarity that they had wanted. So
yeah, people made some money on that one.
they certainly did, but
Not me.
Oh, that's
Not this
unfortunate.
guy. Yeah.
I did an hour of gem mining yesterday after this was fixed. Here are the totals that I got. 126 sapphire, 12 emerald, 38 ruby, 98 diamond, including from stone spirits. There's an asterisk right there. 21 dragonstones and 2 onyx in 1 hour for a total profit of 3.7 million.
See, I think you're lucky. You're pretty lucky in general. Oh, well.
I'd like to hear what everybody else was coming in with. If you guys are listening to this, what you guys had after the hot fix, and I'm going to emphasize that after the hot fix, so not on the 12th, but the 13th and 14th, what you got from your gem rocks. I don't know if I was lucky or not on this, but if you take out the onyxes, that's about 700, 800K just from an hour of mining. Which at level 75 mining isn't that bad. So. And they all sold for that price too.
Really?
Yeah, they did. Actually, a bit above that price. It was double XP weekend, right?
Yeah, they didn't seem to crash at all. I did notice that.
Yeah. And I mean,
I think everyone's panic buying.
It's a question for onyxes if you want this to be another source of onyx, or if you want the guild to remain the primary source of onyx in addition to the elite dungeons. And I personally think that the kiln should still be the primary source of onyx. So I mean,
Shane,
I think this is a little bit too much right now.
if the kiln is the primary source of onyx, then there's no onyx. Because nobody is doing that for onyx. Like,
Gemstone dragons?
Yeah, they don't give you onyx, do they?
I thought they could.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. Calgarians are where I would get my onyx.
Oh, really? I didn't know those dropped them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, don't you remember the Dark Light? The good one.
Oh,
we had for like 2 weeks.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Onyx dragons have a very rare chance of dropping an onyx gem.
Okay.
Hydrix dragons do as well.
See, with all of the uses, though, that we have for onyx now and all of the demand for onyx, I think it's okay. I still think it's pretty imbalanced, because when the kiln was the only source and things like that...
Yeah, they were like 20 mil.
You didn't... Right, but you didn't have Hydrix or alchemical jewelry, or you didn't have all of the stuff that uses onyx now for like recharging and stuff like that.
Sure.
So I don't know. I don't think it's too outstanding.
Yeah, I should probably do another test with this just to see if I can pull more onyxes out than this, and that's why I'm interested to hear other people's results too. If anyone out there listening to this is mining. Because, if you have a high level pickaxe, these gem rocks only have a hardness of 140 and 1150 HP. So, I mean, tier 90 pickaxe with all of your decked out stuff and 90 plus mining is going to just shred through these things.
Yeah, that's like one whack.
No, it's actually a few more than that. But
is it a few more?
Yeah, it's a few more.
It seemed quick. Like,
it's not nearly as much as the Animicas are, for example. So
nice,
right?
But
I haven't actually tried this before or after the hotfix. I feel like I need to.
Yeah, what's your mining level?
To what I get? 95.
Okay,
I think 94, 95.
You should have some pretty good results from this. I mean, and it's also a good rock because you don't need to four-tick it, and you don't need to hit your stamina bar every so often. You can literally just AFK these things and still have a good return on them. So,
ooh, I shall have a go at that.
So they are AFKable now.
Nice.
All right, moving on to our other patch notes for this week on this update. Loading a bank preset with a noted object in the Beast of Burden inventory will no longer attempt to drop the item to the floor.
Ooh. Ouch.
Oops. Yeah. And we talked about this one last week, but it's in the patch notes. It was a hot fix for the previous week. Changed the player-owned farm trapper's animal gathering timer from 30 seconds to 6 hours.
30 seconds?
30 seconds. I know, that was crazy. I never get in on this good stuff. I mean...
God. That must have been a lot of bug abuse in the time it took to fix that.
And everybody who got animals during that time, they let them keep them.
Well, it'd be really hard to enforce otherwise, because so many people must have benefited from that.
Yeah, I did. But I didn't know it was a bug.
That's what I would say, too. Keep that story.
30 seconds. Bloody hell.
Removing animals from the storm barn can no longer cause a disconnection. And here's a big one. Custom fit masterwork armor checks for being on a Reaper or Slayer task have been tightened and should no longer degrade while on these tasks.
Wow, I don't know how they did it. Didn't they say it couldn't even be done?
Yeah.
There it is.
And we were hearing with this that a good portion of the Slayer skill would need to be rewritten for this. But lo and behold, here we are a month later and we got the fix in. I noticed some people were saying that you could get some extra damage in while you were on task in a Curadel's dungeon, for example, because of this. So they did change the Slayer skill on how all this works. But, I mean, hey, this is what was promised with custom fit masterwork armor, and it should add more value to it, hopefully.
Yeah, just in time for me to have finished mine this week. So.
Yay.
Yes.
All right. Now some changes to the quest list, and we talked a bit about these in the Q&A stream at the start of the month, and I just want to start this off with a note that they put in this section here. They say, big shout out to the localization team, who over the last few months have steadily worked through the 250,000 word count this project added to the translation system due to all the migrated data.
Bloody hell. Oh, top marks to them.
Yeah. So the quest list can now be sorted by the area where you start the quest, the release date, 5th, 6th, or ambiguous age, combat difficulty, which is distilled down into bands of the highest NPC combat level in that quest, the quest series, so Myrek, Pirate, etc. And they are in approximate chronological order and timeline, and the idea behind this view is that allows you to complete the quest in roughly chronological order, so 5th age before 6th age, and then release date following that. So that's really fun. I like that. I like this quest list update.
I do as well. I think it's my favorite one is the ordering by kind of story progression. So you start off as a baby adventurer, and then you go through hero, legendary. I think that there's one more there, and then World Guardian. I really like that kind of progression.
That is good. That's a timeline view. Starts off with Pathfinder. So
and I like that one a lot. I think the best thing though is like the 5th and 6th age dividing line there, so that you actually know. I mean, how many times have you done a question like, I don't know, is this the 5th age or is it the 6th age?
Yeah,
it can be a bit confusing sometimes. Yeah.
And now it's finally we know.
Yeah,
an answer.
And in every quest, there is now a year icon, shows what year the quest was released. So you can go back all the way to the beginning and play the early quest if you're just starting out, if you want to go that way. So series, you'll note there's a nice entry for the Elemental Workshop series as well. They didn't forget about that.
I think that's a very good little thing to add as well, because when I was trying to work out what series to do, I had to rely on kind of fan-made, really intricate quest trees of what fed into what and what to have an official kind of canon. This is in this series and that is in that series, and one list is really useful.
I still want one of those quest trees, and there might be ways we can do that going forward, but it's a big project.
Cool. On the website, Shane?
Something like that.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah. All right. So beyond that, for the quest list, they now display names in proper alphabetical order. So Lost Tribe, rather than the Lost Tribe. And, I've wanted them to do this for years. It's just the proper way to organize things in a library.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. It used to drive me absolutely nuts. Yes.
Yeah, it's a good one to do.
They also added quest series and episode, age, release year, recommended, voice acted members, and length information to the quest overview screen. So this is for all the quests, and you see why this is a big deal with the hundreds of quests that are in game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think to us it doesn't seem like a lot, but I imagine there was a lot of work to actually get
250,000 words.
I think that's a lot of stuff they did.
Quest rewards that the player will not be given, such as combat lamps and treasure hunter keys on a repeat playthrough after a quest skill peer reset, are no longer displayed on the quest accept/complete screen. Now for the guidance system, the latest content lozenge on the featured tab in the adventures window now has a consistent automated breadcrumb strategy when the latest content is a quest. That's good, because this has been broken ever since that UI came out.
Okay, yeah.
The set active feature of the quest journal can now consistently breadcrumb to the start point of almost all unstarted quests, and the button now has a distinctive look when toggled between active and inactive states.
Nice.
Okay.
The Quest Point Shop portal previously just teleported you to the start of the latest quest without warning, and now checks the requirements for the latest quest and notifies you of where you'll be teleported.
I think that's quite handy, because I remember using it when it first came out and thinking, why am I here? What's this? What's going on?
Was that for you, Riot?
Must have been. Or I can't actually remember when I did it, but I was quite confused for a while, like, where is this leading? Who knows?
Tannis, you had a fun story.
Why are these people clear cutting McGruber's wood? Oh, it's just Tannis. He really likes wood cutting.
Yeah, that was a great story. Tannis clear cut all of McGruber's wood to find the start point for You Are It.
Oh my god.
Yeah. This is a little rough.
All right. Some other quest changes. Remove the 6th age dialogue on the Dwarf King in Birthright of the Dwarves and made the quest Ambiguous Age. Okay, that one is definitely ambiguous.
That whole quest is ambiguous. That's the best name ever. That's the best adjective they could put on that quest. Ambiguous.
Birthright of the Dwarves. Yeah. That's the final dwarf quest, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's the one with the nightmarish fight at the end.
Yes. Yeah. That one's definitely not a 6th age, so I would say that's ambiguous, yeah.
Acadia, the Exile 6th age dialogue topics now only appear after you've completed Birthright of the Dwarves. And remove the 6th age dialogue on King Lathas in Plague's End and made the quest Ambiguous Age. Yeah, because that, of course, was a 5th age storyline, but it took place in both. So, and, it makes sense for that to be ambiguous because it does kind of lead to the return of Saren. So,
yeah, I do feel like having quest series stretch across both ages is a bit kind of more complicated than it needs to be. So I think keeping that to
I remember,
ambiguous.
I remember we had a huge discussion about one of the vampire quests and whatnot, and the edicts, and how it was saying something odd about the edicts when we didn't know about the edicts necessarily until the 6th age started.
Yeah,
true. Yes.
Changed the 6th age dialogue World Guardian reference in Beneath Cursed Tides to only appear if completed the World Wakes and made the quest Ambiguous Age.
That's good.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Added suggested requirements of Nomad's Requiem and the Nadir Unabridged Saga to Dishonor Among Thieves. And see, this is a good thing that we're doing now, is we're adding suggested requirements rather than pure requirements. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we just keep talking about all my favorite quests.
Oh, Dishonor Among Thieves is up again. Added the suggested requirement of Dishonor Among Thieves to Evil Dave's Big Day Out.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Added the suggested requirements of rune mechanics because Kipple is a rune guardian, and a player felt strongly about that. And faded
player? Who?
Apparently, I don't know which one.
Just one.
Just the one.
Just the one.
And Fate of the Gods, because Elder Gods for the same reason to Heart of Stone.
That was because I played Heart of Stone before Fate of the Gods, and all the talk about Elder Gods really confused me. Okay. It was before I really got into that side of lore.
All right, so
then again, Fate of the Gods is a big-ass quest to have for Heart of Stone, which is tiny.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Heart of Stone.
I liked it. I really liked it.
Yeah. I'm, despite what we have said before on the podcast and how we prefer the simpler storylines, I'm really keen to get going on the Elder Gods again at some point.
Oh, I love the Elder Gods quest line. I'm so excited for stuff they're going to do in future about it. It's going to be great.
Daryl's going to smack them down. Yeah.
Now, While Gothic Sleeps is currently a quest that has several requirements that were intended to increase its prestige at the time, but which weren't needed for any narrative or mechanical reason, and inflated requirements make it difficult for Jagex to build on existing stories, and many more Grandmaster quests have since been created, so this project trims back the requirements to what the quest truly requires.
I don't know how I feel about taking requirements off.
I think it's necessary. Because especially from what they said about how more Grandmaster quests have been released, and it's kind of the problem they have with Sisko's Endgame. Like, it's such a high-level quest, and especially from the combat side of things. I know lots of PVM people thought it was really easy, but a lot of questing people thought the combat was too difficult.
Definitely.
So it's a bottleneck preventing people from continuing with the story. So reducing the requirements, especially on While Gothic Sleeps, I think that's a good example, because this was the first ever Grandmaster quest, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it's a huge narrative building quest too, and the requirements
it's one of the best quests they've ever done.
Yeah.
But going forward from it, if it has it does need to have the lowest requirements of the Grandmaster quests, I'd say.
It leads directly into the World Guardian stuff, because this is where we get a hint of what might be happening with Gothics and the fact that he is where he is. And that the gods are getting restless and people want to wake the gods up. That's where the first rumblings of that came from. And the requirements that have been removed are 270 quest points, Morning's End Part 2, Recipe for Disaster, Summer's End, Swan Song, and Zogre Flesh Eaters. And when you think about it, you don't need Morning's End Part 2 for the 6th Age storyline. You don't need Recipe for Disaster for it. You don't need Summer's End. You definitely don't need Swan Song, and you don't need Zogre Flesh Eaters. I think Summer's End might be the only maybe asterisk on there, kind of remotely, but the rest of them are all just random quests.
You know, the only thing about that is, though, I'm going to be perfectly honest. If some of these quests weren't requirements, I wouldn't have never done them. Like, I would have never done them.
You would have done Morning's End Part 2 to get into Pref.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's
you
some
would have
that
done Recipe for Disaster because it was the 100th quest.
Maybe not. That one wasn't, I don't know. I've done a lot of quests because I had to do it to do something else.
Okay.
So you're not the kind to do quests for the sake of doing quests, then?
I was. There was a time period when I was. When they voiced them.
Oh,
I loved them. I was totally into the questing then. And there's been some since then that, I love the quest. It's just, no, I'm a reward seeker. I want a good reward.
Fair enough.
All right. They added Wanted as a requirement to While Gothic Sleeps, as it's needed to talk to Sir Tiffy and be redirected to a Crise. Nature Spirit is a recommended quest for the Druid Pouch Recharge to make the Ancient Gothic's temple puzzle easier.
Right.
25 agility requirement added as you needed to jump onto the roof of Lucian's Chaos Temple. Though Defender of Rock and the Legends quest ensure you'll have 50 plus agility anyways, but this was added for safety's sake. And updated the requirements check on Radmius Urkel when starting While Gothic Sleeps, which was inconsistent with the quest requirements. The check for access to the Warriors Guild now passes if you have 99 attack or 99 strength. Because you also did need to have access to the Warriors Guild in order to do this quest. So that's it for While Gothic Sleeps. In terms of requirements, they did say they also removed the post-quest dialogue from Idria, where she says, "You should be proud, since our Lord Armadil has returned to Gielinor and defended himself against the murderous intentions of Bandos. Such unity is more important and more fitting than ever before. And since Idria dies during Ritual of Majorat, spoilers, she cannot know about the Bird and the Beast event at the 6th Age."
That's a bit of an oops.
Yeah.
Bit of a lore fail there.
Also, the elite Khazard guards in Movario's base are aggressive again, as was the case pre-EOC.
Well, that fix has been a long time coming.
Yeah, and you know what the funny part about this is? Before EOC, this used to be one of the best places to train combat.
Really?
For the north of combat level 100, but below 126 at the time. So it'd be interesting to see what this does for combat training now, because it used to be really good pre-EOC.
Right.
All right, now on to the controversial ones with Children of Ma. The Grandmaster 6 Age, this Grandmaster 6 Age quest is required for Saliske's endgame and currently requires Koschai's Troubles, a mini-quest which requires Ritual of the Majorat, which in turn is a Grandmaster quest that requires most 5th Age quests. This effectively means that Saliske's endgame requires most of the 5th Age, defeating the point of starting a new age to reduce prerequisites. To resolve this, a 6th Age version of Karshai has been added to the tip of the frozen area north of Relica, a reasonable distance from Koschai's area, and a player can start Children of Ma by talking to him if they meet the quest's requirements. Also, due to Balmung, Karshai is associated with Bane weapons, and when the Mining and Smithing Project was released, this will be the primary Baneite mining area. He may also be used as the tutor for tuning Bane weapons.
That's good.
Yeah, Koschai's Trouble.
That's good.
Koschai's Troubles is now a recommended instead of required quest for Children of Ma. You can still start the quest and access his dialogue from Karshai in Relica as before. Updated Children of Ma quest journal, where it refers to Karshai's location, and Karshai now offers to teleport the player into the Ritual Site instance, which, if you haven't completed Ritual of Majorat, is the only way to access the Ritual Marker. Clicking the Ritual Marker returns you to Karshai even if you haven't unlocked the Ritual Site. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys here. I think this just creates a mess of the requirements for Children of Ma.
I tend to agree with you, Shane. I don't... I'm just not seeing why.
Because there's 2 different paths you can take now, effectively, to unlock Children of Ma. You can take the old one, which required Ritual of the Majorat, or you can just do it if you're coming in through the 6th Age storyline.
I understand why they've done it.
Yeah, I understand why, too.
It's tackling the bottlenecking problem again, like requiring most of the 5th Age quests. But it is a bit of a mess they've come up with as a fix. It's almost like you've got, like you said, there's 2 paths. It's like almost 2 different parallel, games now. Some people are going to have this experience, some people are going to have that, and I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know how I feel narratively. Like, is it just me, or I thought Ritual of the Majorat...
It is a narrative concern.
You need
Ritual
to do
the Majorat.
that before Ma. Like, how are you going to Freniske if you've never done Ritual of the Majorat? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Well, so if you haven't done Ritual of the Majorat, you're not really familiar with the Majorat anyway.
Yeah.
And then Children of Ma is basically a big family spat between all of them. So
yeah,
you need to be a bit more familiar with their lore.
Yeah, I don't think that makes very much sense, in my opinion.
So, if we're looking at this in the simplest way, Children of Ma requires Dishonor Among Thieves and the Light Within. The Light Within was the Grandmaster Elf quest that was released that brought Saren back. And that one requires Fate of the Gods. Now, Fate of the Gods, in turn, going through the requirement list here, requires Missing Presumed Death. Now, Missing Presumed Death, on that requires The World Wakes, Ritual of the Majorat.
So they've done nothing, then. It's just a big loop.
Because, and see, this is what I caught when this came out, is that, yes, you can make Children of Ma not require Ritual of the Majorat.
They basically just took it off for redundancy purposes?
But
I think it's more...
It is centered around Sliske's endgame. Let's not forget that.
Yeah.
But... So if you're going to do... If your end goal is just Children of Ma, you still need to do Missing Presumed Death, The World Wakes, Ritual of the Majorat. But if your end goal is Sliske's endgame, you don't need to do Sliske's or Ritual of the Majorat. And you see why this is very confusing here, because these are both quests that are definitely in the 6th Age. Sliske's endgame, The Light Within, Fate of the Gods, Children of Ma. These are all 6th Age quests in relatively the same area of the quest tree.
I feel like this is a good example of what I've seen Mod Jack call the spaghetti lore, and why it's such a nightmare to sort out. because there's a lot of overlap and things feeding into other things. And
that's a good term to describe it.
Yeah, it's just confusing to try and deal with because things feed into that. Like you can remove Ritual of the Majorat from one area of the quest tree, but it feeds in somewhere else anyway.
Yeah. And now the devil's advocate view on this is the following. I have just got into the game. I have, 100 plus combat. I see this, unique little thing for the 6th Age. I start off doing the World Wakes. I progress through the 6th Age. I get to Children of Ma and Sliske's Endgame, and I can do it no problem. I don't even know what happened with Ritual of the Majorat. And that's if I'm focusing purely on doing the 6th Age.
Oh.
But,
that's...
But on the other hand, if I'm doing 5th Age, you have a different path. And what this is inherently requiring and assuming players will do is they're hoping that the players will stick to one path in doing this.
Okay, or that, yeah.
Okay, what's your theory?
My theory was we're looking at this from people that, even myself to a certain extent, are really invested in quest and lore. Whereas maybe this change was made for the quest scrubs out there who wanted to do Sliske's Endgame or whatever new quest comes along that's real big and towards the end and has great rewards.
Yeah, that's got to be
They don't want to make them go all the way through, hours and hours of quest.
That sounds like a reasonable, well, not a reasonable, but a believable reasoning behind it.
And another good reason for this is with the impending release of mobile, presumably at some point this year, there's going to be lots of people jumping on, lots of people playing Slayer, and we all know how quick and easy it is to get 100 plus combat now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So you can jump right into the 6th Age stuff, some of the most epic storylines in the game, and Jagex can run a mobile recruitment strategy on this.
That makes sense as well, because I think, my personal opinion, the 6th Age stuff is better than the 5th Age stuff, just objectively. Yeah. So if they want to encourage people to, or if they want to make a path where people can just stick to the 6th Age stuff if they want to, then...
Well, yeah.
So I
guess they're missing out to pretty cool lore, but...
So I guess, they are missing out on lots of lore. Ritual of the Majorat, well, Gothic Sleeps and whatnot. But, when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, we are folks here who have done all the quests, and we see the confusion that this brings in looking at the two different paths. But you just need to remember that if someone is siloed and they're doing 5th Age first, and then that's going to lead them into 6th Age, then they're going to have no problem. Or if someone is doing all the 6th Age content and not necessarily focusing on 5th Age, no problem.
Yeah, when you put it like that, you can see why they've done it.
Yeah,
but it is a bit of a mess looking at it from the perspective of people who have played 5th and 6th Age and trying to make
and for the people who keeps themselves up at night worrying about lore, it's also another
the people who care about this sort of thing.
So, we're splitting hairs at this point. I think we're going to be fine regardless of what happens, and I think anybody playing through, as long as they stay on one path, is going to be fine as well. So
yeah. It might be something they come back to later as well, like once more 6th Age stuff's come out, but who knows?
Yeah. No, that would be a bad idea. I'm not even going to suggest
that. Okay.
Never mind. No.
Fair enough.
No, I had an idea in my head I wasn't going to suggest, but I'm not going to suggest that.
Okay.
It's horrible. No, we're not doing that. But that's it for the patch notes. I came into this patch notes segment thinking that this was going to be an incredibly divisive section regarding Children of Ma, but parsing through it with the both of you has definitely helped. So I'm glad for that.
And I'm glad I actually do see a method to the madness here. Like, because at first I'm like, I don't even get why you would do this, but now, all right, I think we hashed out an acceptable reasoning behind all this.
Yeah. The only thing, of course, that still hasn't been explained is why the Spore Drive in Star Trek Discovery doesn't appear later in future incarnations of Star Trek. But that's another huge lore thing people are worried about.
Oh, my little lore question. RuneScape lore this time, not Star Trek. I don't know where Star Trek came from.
All right.
Yeah. When's Karshai going to take his holiday? He said at the end of Children of Ma he was going to go, backpacking around the plains again.
Oh.
But when's he going to do that? That he's hanging around teaching people how to mine.
That's interesting. That could be another issue they need to deal with. All right, let's talk a bit about the Q&A stream this week in regards to the upcoming changes to Bounty Hunter and the removal of that minigame and some fire making stuff. So we're not going to go into a huge discussion on this because we want to save most of this for when it actually arrives. But with that being said, Bounty Hunter is going away in March. That is actually happening. It's slotted in on the schedule for that to be removed. I think the biggest thing we want to talk about with this that we didn't know about coming into this week was that there's going to be a new Wilderness Slayer Master at level 85 Slayer. It's going to give you NPCs that you must kill in the wilderness, and they will be only found in the wilderness. So that means if they give you abyssal demons, you can't go to the Slayer Tower to kill them. You got to kill them in the wilderness. And this is how you're going to get This is how you're going to get Bounty Hunter points, and it's going to upgrade every time you do a task. So, and the idea behind this is that it encourages people to go into the wilderness for extra Slayer XP because you can use the Demonic Skull, and you can get special Slayer contracts in doing this. But if you get PK'd with your emblem or your Demonic Skull, your emblem will go down a tier, and the PKer who killed you will steal half the points that emblem is worth. So at tier 6, that'd be 450 points they'd get off you.
Yeah.
It's just trying to bring PKing back.
And see, I was hoping this was ending it, but no. I think you're right. Just another reinvention of it.
And, this question has to be, and, we always talk about PvP in this game, and there's a huge area north of Edgeville where people can PvP, and it really hasn't been.
But nobody does.
Nobody does. I have only ever seen in the numerous herb runs that I do to that wilderness herb patch. I have probably seen, since that entire herb patch came out, less than 20 people at that herb patch while herb farming, and I've only got killed once.
Well, if you do the divination out there, you will have trolls come through, kill you, and same thing happens at the agility course. But I seriously think there's like 5 PKers in the whole game. They're just really, really annoying.
And the question is with this, will this encourage more people to PK in the wilderness if there are people doing Slayer in the wilderness?
It might do. It might bring back a certain sort of community who are interested in that sort of thing. I mean, I personally don't like it, but I can imagine there might be some people who are.
See, and I don't like it, and I don't think I would ever be good at it, but the fact that we can make tier 90 armor now kind of makes me want to throw some on and just go out there and see what happens.
Right.
Because I wouldn't be out anything, like I could make a
You can make that Elder Rune set in an hour. Yeah,
exactly.
That's true, actually. I wonder, because more people will be doing Slayer, I wonder if more people will kind of... I assume more people will go into the wilderness. So
fingers crossed, fingers crossed. Because, the only reasons you have to go into the wilderness now, for being honest, or maybe a few of the safes for safe cracking, the herb patch, and, of course, rune crafting. And that's repetitive. But
that's still better charges than even incandescent.
Really? Is it worth it, though? The risk?
No. For me, no. But it is faster, technically.
Technically, it's faster, sure.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's worth it.
For me, no. But most people, you're supposed to keep your divine nomadic and all that. So I mean, if you do it right, you don't lose anything with the death. It's just annoying. But I just no, I don't like to take the risk myself.
Okay. And the whole reason they're doing this is for the reward shop, because the reward shop is staying largely the same, with a few exceptions. The Ogre Flask can now be made with robust glass at Ooglag, though it'll require more robust glass to make it. The rune pouches are gone from that shop. There will be a chance to get magical thread while abyssal rune crafting, and you'll have a higher chance with the demonic skull. Pouches will have to be crafted. That's good. I like that change.
Yeah, see, I think this was a really interesting thing to me because it hasn't been that long since they brought Bounty Hunter back. And I mean, and the best part of that was the rewards. Like, those weapons are actually pretty good, man. I don't know if you've used them, but
no, I have not.
If you don't have the money for like Nox or something like that, those weapons are the next best thing. I mean, they're good. They're real good.
Okay.
So, it's just interesting how, like, if they hadn't brought Bounty Hunter back, we might not have those rewards, but obviously it didn't work, so they're taking it back out. But lucky for us, we still get the rewards.
Yeah. Also, deathmatch is staying as is, just in case there's any question about that. So,
I was dying to know.
Yeah.
'Cause, I do that every Friday.
Okay. The Revenants will have a small chance of dropping Revenant Spirit item to unlock the pet, and each time you get one of these Revenant Spirits, the pet will unlock its next tier of pet, becoming more rare each and every time. There's also going to be a new shared loot system for wilderness mobs, and that's whether you're a slayer or doing pickpocketing or working the muddy chest. Examples of what this will include are the Wilderness Hilt, the Fremenic armor set, adrenaline crystals, bloodwood seeds, and brawling gloves. So,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, like most things, we want to wait to see what happens with the actual release of this before commenting on it further. I think the biggest thing, and I think we'll know for sure when the update hits, is that the most revolutionary thing of this is going to be Wilderness Slayer, I think.
Yeah. Pans out.
Actually, you'll actually have a chance to do Slayer in the Wildy, whereas I don't think now the only creature that you have to go to the Wildy to get would be, well, you don't even have to do that now. I forgot, not after ED2, but it was Lava Strikes, right?
Yep.
That was the only.
Yep.
And but those are kind of hard. Like I always canceled those because as a Slayer creature, I didn't want to do it. It's kind of rough. So last thing I wanted to do is worry about people coming up behind me. But now there's going to be a lot of variety, so there will be more opportunity to, go get somebody, I guess.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to the fun stuff in terms of the Incense Burners.
Yeah. The unfinished herb burners.
Yeah. Yeah. So these are the Game Jam project, and we absolutely loved seeing these when they came around at the last Game Jam. In general, they say these are going to be okay for fire making training in terms of XP. Bonfires or line fire making should still be better. You can effectively overload on incense, which will extend the duration of it to 60 minutes. And you can also get the top benefit right off the bat by overloading as well. These are ultimately
many inappropriate jokes I can make at this point.
I know.
I would lose my Peanut crown, and that would be terrible.
I have no idea what you're talking about, but okay.
Of course not.
That's why we love you, Shane.
They're effectively fire-making items that are created using logs, herbs, and ashes. They're set to act like potions, and every 10 minutes their potency increased. But if you use 4 at the same time, boom, you get the maximum benefit. The original design document called for herblore habitat herbs. Those are gone. You will need the fire-making level of the herb to make the incense burner required by that herb. So, if there's a herb that requires level 75 or 74, I think it is for Lant, Tatty you'll need 77 fire making for that as well to make that. So that's where fire making gets its usefulness. And you also require that same fire making level to burn the incense as well. Now, I think this is what you wanted to talk about, right, Tannis? Some of the effects on these.
Yeah.
So for Guam, chance per potency for an additional chance per potency point for an additional log when cutting normal trees. And everything we're saying here is indeed subject to change. And that's why I don't want to read too much into these. Tarrowman, chance to automatically bank ashes when burning logs. Haralander restores more run energy when resting. Ranner reduces the rate at which prayers are drained per potency. Toad Flanks reduces the chance of failing an agility obstacle. And just stop me, whichever one you think sounds overpowered. Spirit Weed reduces special attack energy of summoning familiars when needed. Irrit, each potency level provides 25% reduction to poison damage. Red, 100% immunity at potency 4. Wargali, chance per potency to automatically string bows or attach feathers while fletching. Avanto, 25% chance to bait a trap without requiring bait. Quarm is add weapon poison damage per potency. Bloodweed, chance per potency to gain additional log when cutting Bloodweed. Snapdragon, your stats will restore faster. Have I got to the overpowered ones yet?
I don't think so.
Catentine, chance to reduce the chance to deplete resources, works in the Ark, though not mining or farming. Lantademy increases the duration of potions when drunk. Overloads, for example.
That one might be a little bit... Something might need to be looked at there.
Dwarfweed increases the chance to bank items that are produced to drop by monsters, effectively a chance at having a free porter. Torstal increases the amount of XP earned. We don't know what the percentage buff on that will be. And for Fellstock, increases the chance for elite monsters to appear.
I think we need to know more information about the specific chances.
Yeah.
It just says increases the chance, but from what to what? Before we can really make a judgment on how.
Yeah, that wasn't said in the stream, and if they were said, the note was made that they aren't necessarily final. So that's why I didn't mention any of them when rattling them off here. But none of these really seem that overpowered to me.
I'm not real concerned about them. If anything, I just don't think those numbers are going to be anywhere near that. I just don't think they're going to be.
You think they're going to be underpowered?
I think they're going to be all over the place, to tell you the truth. I think some are going to be under, some are going to be over, and I think this is going to take a while. I just don't feel like it's going to be there like they think or we think.
Are there any of these right here that the both of you would like to use off the bat?
Potion duration, yeah, for sure. I mean, who doesn't want that?
Potion duration and XP.
Yeah, and the XP, oh man.
That restore could be quite useful as well.
Oh yeah.
Porter one, not.
Especially
some
not
of them
with
could
the
be quite
price,
useful.
Yeah, I mean, it could be, but I don't know. I mean, now that we have the Grace of the Elves, I don't think about porters anymore. You just fill it up and you can turn off and on when you go, and you're off and running.
I think
it could be interesting to see.
The Avanto one is going to be a must for Hunter.
Yes.
But aren't there perks where you don't have to bait traps anyway? Like with that quiver, you already don't bait traps.
Well, this is a good step in between, because this is another mid-level skill update.
That's what I was about to say.
Oh, okay.
If you haven't got Invention, and if you haven't got... This could be a nice little kind of,
This is mid-level.
Yeah, lower mid to high mid.
So...
Kind of
the ones that are jumping off the page for me with this are Guam, Torstal, and maybe Dwarfweed. Lant, sure. Catentine for woodcutting. I'd say those ones probably for me, the ones that can be used for skilling, and you'll see why in a few weeks. But those are the ones that I'm leaning towards. It's also worth noting that higher tiered incense needs higher tiered logs, and one complaint that I have with this is that the ones at the top end don't need elder logs. They need magic logs. If this were me, I would make elder logs the top and just shift everything down so the mid-level ones use magic. Make the ones at around tier 75-ish use magic, because there needs to be a reason for people to cut elder logs and to sell elder logs in game.
Yeah. Yeah, it
And
definitely does.
I think the mid-level ones are going to be used more of all these incense sticks. And we all know that we have a huge abundance of magic logs in game, right? So put the magic logs on the ones who are going to be used more, and then leave the high-end ones, Torstall and Fellstock, which are high level in their own, to be used with Elder logs. Give skillers something.
Which one is the X? See, I think it's the XP and the potion extension that's going to be used the most.
Yep, I agree.
Like, okay.
The XP and the potion extension one. XP is Torstall requiring magic log, and Lantadimi for the potion one, which requires you.
Oh wow, those are
see what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah.
So, and if I just look up a Lantadimi, I think Lantadimi is level 74 or level 77 herblore. You need to clean it. Anyone know off the bat? I should know this.
I don't. You're the farmer.
Don't know off the top of my head.
67. 67. So, I mean, okay, so that is kind of paired with use and whatnot, but I think if you also look at Dwarfweed instead as a top benchmark there for that, Dwarfweeds require 70 herblore. I don't think there would be an issue with making the U and or just making the U ones right now require magic, which are the Catentine, Lantadimi, and Dwarfweed. So at least that's how it was in the design document. And I'll be completely transparent here. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to subtly suggest that a sync be created for magic logs. And I mean, the reason for that is obvious. I think if anyone's looked at what the market for magic logs is currently and how Telos and whatnot drops magic logs and how you can thieve them in Prif. And, we've been talking a lot about with the mining and smithing rework of adding value for skillers at the top end. And they could certainly do that with Elder logs by making these ones at the top require Elder instead of magic.
Yes. I just had I don't even know how long it took, but it's probably a 2-hour conversation about all of that.
Oh, with who?
My friend PK about, cause the poor PVMers, they're just hurting so bad with these stone spirits, and they're just hurting so bad they don't drop them resources anymore. I said, good, because I hope they don't drop herbs and logs or any goddamn thing else that's going forward. So we didn't actually agree, but well, you don't do anything when you're skilling. I'm like, dude, I know people that can sit on the crapper and do necks. What are you talking about? Like, you ain't no better than me. You ain't better than me.
That's some fighting talk there.
All right. Now, so there's our humble suggestion in that for Mod Timbo, because I think we do need to address that log situation, and I have a theory that what's going on with this behind the scenes is that this is their first attempt to try and increase the value of logs without removing or reducing them from drop tables. I think that's what the theory is internally of what's going on with this update too. That would be my guess. So. Fire spirits' quality of life changes. They'll have a bar above their head that shows when they'll disappear. They now appear in your inventory when you select them. The divine, spirit, and crystal tinderboxes will now give you more fire spirit chances to get. Their reward tables will be improved. We don't know exactly what that will be yet. Firelighters will have a strike option that'll enable the auto-catching of fire spirits, and the firelighters will also enable you to get 1.3 times the rewards from the fire spirits when you catch them. And the Ring of Fire and the Flame Gloves will give an increased chance of getting fire spirits as well.
Nice. It's good to have a use for firelighters.
Yeah, aside from making colored fire, right?
Yeah, I've got a whole stash of them. I don't really know what to do with them. I don't want to throw them away because they could be pretty.
And then just some changes to the balloon network. Stack travel charges by giving each of the balloon operators logs, and then they use that so you can go between any of the routes, and they've removed the weight limit as well, and their hope is that this will make people use the balloon network more. So
making 2007 great again.
I actually have an idea for the balloon network and a subsequent quest on that, but we'll save that for another episode. So, anything else from the Q&A?
Not really.
All right. Well, before we move on to our questions, I'll just take a moment to thank our Patreon supporters for the week. And this week we would love to thank Ben W., Brock H., Kyle, and Zez. Thank you guys for your wonderful support of our podcast and enabling us to do what we do here at RSBANDB Update. And if you're wanting to hear a bit more about this or to learn about Patreon, you can find that at patreon.com/RSBANDB. And for as little as $1 a month, you get a special mention in our show notes, as well as the ability to join our roundtable discussions and early access to the show notes. You also help to fund the cost for hosting and production of RSBANDB Update. For $3 a month, you'll receive a special VIP rank on our Discord server, as well as a mention on the podcast at the start of the month, and access to high-quality stereo AAC versions of the podcast. And for $5 a month, you'll receive a special shout-out on the podcast every week, and exclusive access to the outtakes that we use for the clip show. In addition to everything else, you do, of course, help keep the show running. So with that being said, we're currently doing our monthly bit bonus show, and if we reach $30 a month, we'll be doing Inside RSBANDB Update, where that'll include interviews with their host and production team, and learn how the podcast comes together, and maybe even have a sneak peek of where our hosts record the podcast. And for $50 a month, when we get there, we will be doing the RSBANDB Update Roundtable on the first Saturday of each month, where we'll just have a wide-ranging RuneScape discussion on anything and everything. This will be hosted in our Discord, and Patreon supporters are encouraged to join in with the round table. And at $99, you'll experience Movie Night with Shane and Tanis, where we'll have a monthly movie night in Discord as we run through our favorite movies, Star Trek probably included. So more
and Star Wars.
Okay. So more of this, of course, can be found at patreon.com/RSBNB. Thank you once again, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
All right, so we have a question this week from Sunset Fish. What RuneScape model area would you like to see graphically updated? For me, he says it's the unicorns, and he'd also like to see the Ardoin Zoo get revamped, perhaps expanded even, for a zoo of living creatures. Sure, looks like death to me.
He's not wrong.
Yeah. All right, graphical areas, go.
Gosh, man.
So much he's doing.
Yeah, that's my problem too. It's like, where do I begin? I guess I'm going to pick the whole Fremennik area, like including my island and all them other islands, and that whole thing needs work.
All right.
Yeah.
I would say the whole of the Ardoin area, because I think a lot of places are in need of a good bit of rework, but I think the western areas have been particularly neglected. Like, we've had the Valador rework, we've had apart from Catherby, that's basically as far west as the graphical reworks have gone so far. So the Ardoin one, I think, would be a good place to start.
All right.
Yeah.
For me, it would have to be either Karamja and Shiloh Village.
Karamja needs a rework so bad.
They should do some cool stuff too.
Yeah, they could.
They could. They need to update it in terms of the graphics, in terms of the stories, and just make it just one big boost, like Menethos, but better.
That's an interesting word to say.
A high tier Menethos.
Yes, there you go. That makes us feel better.
Oh.
Okay.
Let's just call it high tier though, so that we can get everyone on board.
Tanis, you're learning. That's good. But in addition to Karamja, it would probably have to be Sears Village because, we saw those wonderful concepts of what it could look like, the white boxing, but the technology progressed and they had to effectively start over on that. So that was too bad. And for model, I just got to say the player model, because...
Oh my God, the female player model needs knees. She hasn't got knees, and it's really annoying.
Yeah, and there's a reason for this. I'm going to say this. We'll go into this more on another episode, but wouldn't it be great if we had an updated player model and you could get your player model 3D printed?
Oh, that would be
sweet.
That'd be great.
That would be really cool. There was a competition for that a little while ago, actually. Get your player model 3D printed.
Oh, really?
Okay. Yeah, I think it was maybe a couple of years ago now. Possibly for the 16th birthday celebration.
I must have missed that one.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, so that would be fun, but those are my answers on that one. And, I think it's always a question, I think, is it going to be graphical reworks or is it going to be bigger content updates? And what are the majority of the players going to choose? What are we going to choose? Content updates, right?
I would like both, actually. I think you could have a content update and then release a graphical update alongside it. Yeah, it would be a lot more work.
And see, here's the thing. In that case, we're treading back to the idea of expansions.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah. Well, the problem is they weren't a problem.
What I would love to see with the Ardoin area is a big old graphical rework and a new quest to continue the Ardoin storyline, because there's a bit of an unfinished story there that I think needs to be addressed. So a great place to do the rework would be getting another quest line started there.
There's just so many different ways you could go, and just looking at all this, the possibilities are endless for the future.
Yeah, and I'm definitely a minority opinion in the overall large community at large, but personally, as much as I love the new content, because that's what we do, right? We break it down, we talk about it, we analyze it, and I love doing that. But as a player, I'm very content with the amount of stuff that I have to do in the game right now. Oh
yeah, definitely.
And they could spend 6 months prettying it up and letting me like customize my player model more, and I would be totally fine with that.
Yeah.
But I'm probably one of a few,
And it's kind of a shame, like seeing the kind of new things they can do with the graphics, like the area around Needle Skips, the new Piscatoris area is just so beautiful. The Lost Grove is one of the most beautiful areas in the game. And even for Violet is Blue, like they introduced a new sort of visual trick where you were on one map square, but it kind of panned out into the distance, so it looked like you were in a much, much bigger area. And I loved that. So if they could include
that was one map square.
You were standing on one map square. I remember Mod Day talking about it on the stream.
I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that.
The way it looked when across to the horizon, there were more mountains and woods, and just made the environment feel a lot bigger than it actually was. So there's so much stuff they could do, and then you compare it to the Fremnik province, and it's just 2006, 2005 graphics.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I just wish there was more consistency. I know nothing about game development, but in my humble opinion, you almost need a couple of teams working just on graphical reworks, just so they can blitz it all out, get it all done, and do a massive reboot, get it all sorted out, and then it's not just sitting there reminding everyone that it needs doing all the time. But I know that's obviously unrealistic.
Let me just do some quick math in my head here. You guys carry on.
Okay, well, because what you're saying, Diana, it leads me to this where I'm sitting here going, because when they draw it out, by the time that they were to get it all finished, then there would be a new graphics thing.
Yeah,
so you keep having the really sophisticated all the way down to just 2005.
No, I understand that. It would be a huge job to do, so it's probably just completely unrealistic.
Yeah,
no, I think your way is the way. Do it
is
all
the way.
At once.
And we've been talking about this before on the podcast that we're getting into an era where we have the definition of what is RuneScape 3. We talked about with the needle skips, mining and smithing rework. I could go on and on about this, and there's going to be a point where we need to start defining what RuneScape 3 looks like graphically. The Needle Skips does that. The Lost Grove does that. And the question is, do we want the rest of the world to look like that? And if that's the case, that's a discussion that Jagex needs to have, and they need to determine if it's worth it. From a scheduling and from a dev perspective, the answer is going to be no, and you can keep putting content out that's going to bring people into game, new people into game potentially, whereas graphical reworks are likely to skew towards people who are existing players. So that's point one.
Yeah.
And I think we currently have 5 development teams plus the Treasure Hunter team working on stuff. And then there's the one team that is working on that big update for early 2020. So that's 7 development teams in total. So by my count, we would probably need to add 3 to 5 additional development teams in order to make this reality possible of what we have just described.
Pretty strange development teams. They would mostly be kind of art and design teams.
Yeah, but
we could move Treasure Hunter. They like to change that every week.
But still, you need people
They've got some graphics
who
skills.
have the technical expertise to implement it into the game and the game world and whatnot too.
So what you say about RS3 having its own specific look's quite interesting, because I remember them saying for Violet is Blue that they've recently got a whole new, that they've switched graphics software or something, which is why it looks a bit different, especially on the character models.
Yeah.
And I love the character models for Violet is Blue. They looked so nice. So I kind of agree with what you say, how they need to have if that could be the RS3 style, that would be lovely, like going forwards, but it also needs to kind of go backwards and make everything else look nice at the same time.
Yeah. And I mean, it's trivial to say, hey, 3 to 5 more development teams, but you got to bring the hiring in, you got to add QA teams for them, you got to add scheduling, you got to add managers.
Yeah.
And it's a huge big deal to expand like that. So as much as we could say that would be a nice thing to do, I think at most in the future we're going to see 1 to 2 added, not nearly that much of an expansion.
Well, no,
I hope they continue doing the reworks with new bits of content that are released.
Yeah. Well, and I was just thinking too, like, it's definitely not going to happen when we're in a selling position right now.
No, yeah, very true.
I mean,
very true.
Oh well, we shall see.
All right, thank you, Sunset Fish. That was a great discussion topic. So, if anybody else has topics for next week, you can email them to questions@rsbnb.com. You can also send them to us on Twitter via an @mention or a DM to @rsbnb, or the forum topic, which goes up every Monday-ish at update.rsbnb.com/ask. Alrighty, so moving into tech news this week, we're going to take the opportunity to talk about the Mars rover named Opportunity.
Oh, poor Opportunity.
So sad about this.
Me
yeah,
too.
so this rover launched in 2004. So, 15 years this thing went for. It was declared dead on Sol 5,352, which means mission day 5,352 Earth time, because days are different length, of course, on Mars. Initially, these missions were set to run for 90 days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It was meant to be a 3-month mission.
Why don't we put more money with that? That's the one place that money isn't wasted. Like, seriously, the rover lasted how many years? Wait.
15 years.
15 years, and it was 90 days. Come on.
Yeah.
And its companion Spirit, I think 5 or 6 years ago died. Something like that. There were 2 of them, the same design, different areas of the planet they were surveying, and these were by and large the first successful Mars rovers, because they were large enough that they could traverse rough terrain, compared to something like Pathfinder, which they sent in the 1990s, that ran into a rock and wasn't able to progress forward. So this is a mission that was only supposed to last 90 days, and here we are 15 years later, plus a month, because they landed on January 25th, 2004.
Oh.
Well, and wasn't it like all these discoveries from them? Like, aren't those where we found out for sure there was water? There was frozen water in the ground. There were organic components, right? Like, well, not organic. What am I trying to say? The littler pieces, not actual
bacteria.
Molecular fragments.
There you go.
Did it find bacteria?
I
don't think we found.
The stuff that make.
Okay.
I don't think they found organisms.
We didn't find organisms, but we found
fragments.
what the chemicals that could make them and lead to them.
Yeah,
that's it.
like the precursors.
Yeah, the proteins and whatnot.
And didn't it also like let us know like that the face was an actual just geological thing? It wasn't
Yeah, our better satellites orbiting Mars figured that out. So
okay.
Yeah. What's expected to have happened to Opportunity was that it was hit by a dust storm last year, and as a result of it, its batteries died out. Even if the winds blew the dust off, there wasn't able to get enough power to start up again. And it's also worth noting that these rovers had been through a lot, to the point where one of them even broke its wheels off. And this one...
There's one thing with Opportunity, they had to drive it backwards every now and again because one wheel was overpowered compared to the other one, so they had to reverse it to keep the wheels in.
It had to steer with 2 wheels instead of the 4. So, I mean, these things kept going even with numerous mechanical problems. And, we have a history here of Mars missions where less than 50% of all missions that are sent to Mars are actually successful in getting to the actual planet.
I think we're ready to start sending people.
I mean, we have to now. We have to go brush Opportunity off and get her going again. Have to go find her.
So... we, of course, had Spirit and Opportunity, and then there was the Curiosity rover, which I believe landed in 2011, if I'm correct on that regard. And there's also some other Mars rovers that are slated to head to Mars in 2020 as well. So Mars exploration is not done. Spirit and Opportunity, you could say, paved the way for these missions that are happening now and into the future. Because when you have one of these ones that lasts for 15 years, it covers up the time in between mission launches to the point where you had Curiosity, Spirit, and Opportunity all operating on Mars at the exact same time. So Curiosity landed on August 6, 2012. That was the subsequent one to Spirit and Opportunity.
They're hugely important missions, like really, really influential. Not only just for tech and discovery, but in inspiring people to get into science and to get into space exploration. Like so many people, I've seen a lot of people on Twitter, actually, a lot of NASA scientists on Twitter, saying that the reason they joined NASA was all the publicity around Opportunity and Spirit. So they've done so much, and people have spent half their careers on this mission. So it's incredibly significant that it's come to an end.
Yeah, it's a bittersweet ending.
Yeah. And did you hear the thing that really upset me was getting upset over a robot? But one of the technicians tweeted out that in effect, Opportunity's final message was, "My batteries are low and it's getting dark."
Ooh.
And that was the last thing we heard from it. And how sad is that?
That's some serious AI stuff going on here, right?
Tragic. Obviously it didn't actually say that, but that was the equivalent translation into, human speak.
Yeah, with the diagnostic codes or whatnot. So batteries are low, it's getting dark.
Yeah.
Jesus. Now I'm sad.
Yeah, it's really, really sad.
Oh, you weren't kidding.
It's almost as sad as Curiosity singing Happy Birthday to itself, all alone on Mars.
Whoa.
The amount of energy that NASA puts into these rovers is just amazing. So.
Yeah.
All right.
Rip Opportunity. You did a good thing.
Yes. Next up in tech news, some earnings reports this week from Reddit in particular. They announced a $300 million funding round this past Monday, which gives it a $3 billion valuation. And with 330 million active users and a revenue of about $100 million, this means that the company is generating an estimated average of 30 cents per user.
Wow.
Well, they're still not going to get my 30 cents.
Oh, I agree. There's only a couple subreddits that I still keep the account around for, but it's something I want to get rid of. And for comparison's sake here, Snapchat's users are valued at $2.09 per user, Pinterest $2.80, Facebook $7.37, and Twitter is at the top at $9.48.
So this confirms that it's mostly children who don't have money, right?
On which
mostly
platform?
Young trolls.
Oh, on Reddit?
For Reddit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
We're so nice.
Yeah, we are.
I mean, it's Reddit.
Exactly.
I mean, I just had to put this story in here.
3 players, can't you?
I just had to put this story in here because, I mean, there are still people, venture capitalist firms, throwing money to the tune of $300 million at this company. But even with its user base, 30 cents per user is all they can muster. And, I mean, Reddit's user base is fairly sophisticated, so I would imagine as such as though that most of their users are probably using ad blockers, so they can't even run ads.
That's probably why. Because I just think, how would you make revenue off Reddit? Like, it would have to be from ads. And most people who use Reddit wouldn't click on ads, or they would use an ad blocker.
Yeah, and, you know, we could talk more about the company and whatnot with its redesign and whatnot. I just have so many issues with Reddit that it could probably fill an entire podcast in itself. But I just wanted to report on these numbers here.
Fair enough.
Our next piece of tech news is something coming out of the European Union, in particular a warning from the EFF, the Electronic Frontier Foundation, in regards to the final versions of Article 13 and Article 11. So you'll recall that we talked about Article 11 when it was mentioned, and that was the meme ban in Europe, but there's also Article 13, and the idea behind this one is that it will make it illegal in the EU for any online community, platform, or service that has existed for 3 or more years or is making more than 10 million euros per year, and ensure that no one ever posts anything on these networks that infringes copyright, even momentarily. And there's going to be filters in place because, you know, these companies can't afford the fines that will come from that. And most of these companies are indeed based in the United States. And these companies are going to need to pay as well under Article 11 to enable certain news sites to decide who on the internet can link to their stories, and they will have to charge for permission to do so. So this is Article 13 and Article 11.
Yeah, it's not good.
So what? So we screwed up the internet, and then the Europeans said, "Here, hold our beer."
Hold our beer. I mean, the intention is perhaps okay in terms of straightening up copyright rules.
Right? Who can complain about copyright?
Not the way
right?
to do it. I mean, it protects people. It protects like intellectual property and all that. You can see why copyright's needed, but this is not the way to do it.
No. Because it's any platform or service that has existed for 3 or more years or is making 10 million per year euros in revenue. And, you know, if I was to make a simple bookmarking website that let people store bookmarks and it was, you know, existed for more than 3 years, that would fall under that ban.
Yeah,
of
personal blogs.
These copyright links.
It's not good. Like,
And
I know there's a lot of hype, a lot of fear-mongering about it as well, but yeah, don't like it.
Well, I mean, what's this going to do? Like, I make memes on a daily basis. Like, is that an end to that, or are those done now? It's over?
It depends if what you're using in the meme is considered copyright infringement or not.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it's that distinction that's really the crux of the issue, because satire and memes and stuff often use things without explicit copyright.
Like, if you take a 3-second clip from a movie, a GIF, and put some text on it, that could theoretically be covered by this.
And it's that subjectivity and that kind of judgment that's needed that obviously is going to go horribly wrong, because it will. You can just tell already that it's going to.
Well, this is just a way for the big places to make sure they get to stay big and little independent people never get a chance to, right? I mean, this is more crony capitalism, which is really weird coming from the EU.
Mm.
There's also this point in here that every online community, service, or platform is required to make their best efforts to license anything their users might conceivably upload, which means that they have to buy virtually anything any copyright holder offers to sell them at any price on pain of being liable for infringement if a user later uploads that work.
You almost feel like these directives were written by people who just don't understand how the internet works.
That's what it comes down to.
They just don't get what actually gets put up and how it works. And basically, if you live in the EU and you have access to an MEP who might vote in this, tell them how crap you think it is. Because
send them a meme.
They need to hear it. Send them memes, yeah. Let them appreciate what memes really are. But in all honesty, there's loads of online petitions going around at the moment, and I don't have any off the top of my head.
The EFF actually has some that are linked in this post here. So full show notes will, of course, have this at update.rsbnb.com. And, there's also Article 11, which penalizes news sites in that, they need to pay the publisher if they're going to be linking to them. This one, of course, will affect Facebook, Google News, and whatnot. Reddit, Dig, so on and so forth. But both of them are pretty bad. Eyes open, as we always say here on the podcast. Have a read through this article. Show notes, update.rsbnb.com. And also, if this interests you, there is a link to take action on this. So,
yeah. I hate to say the B word, but interesting to see what Brexit does for it.
I was going to say, well, at least the UK won't have to worry about it, right? They don't have to.
God.
That's a whole other big issue entirely. That is looking murkier and murkier every day.
You're telling me.
All right.
I kind of get it now. I mean, jeez.
So, moving on to our Skill of the Month update for February, which is Defense. Sorensen is far ahead with 23.4 million XP gained. Comsci in second with 3.2, and Flash in third with 181k. We'll have to see what Double XP Weekend does for this. All right, we're going to talk about some achievements, but first I just want to highlight a guest Informer article that we have from Derp Clan Quest wrote us a nice little guest article for RSBANDB Informer entitled Derp's Comprehensive Clues Guide. And the idea behind this is that, the Clue Scroll rework came out a year ago, and we all have stacks and stacks of clues at our bank. And how can you complete them efficiently? Well, this article attempts to answer that. So if you like clue scroll hunting, or you want to just have a read at in regards to how it is done efficiently, check that out. You can find it at informer.rsbnb.com, titled Derp's Comprehensive Clues Guide. I like this one, so everyone should give it a read.
Good deal.
All right, what do we got for achievements?
Well, the first achievement is apt. From Loving, we got 99 fishing on February 13th. So, very nice. Then we had Nordic Falcon with 99 strength on February 12th. With Yitzi, YC, 99 farming on February 12th. Farrar with 99 Slayer on February 12th. And Love Natural, another lovey one. Love Natural with 99 strength, February 11th.
February, the month for love, obviously.
Obviously.
Next up, we have Mr. Jingles with 120 Firemaking on February 10th. Robbie with 120 Runecrafting on the 10th of February as well. Matt258 with 99 Invention on February 10th. And Cool Banksy with 99 Invention and 99 Farming on February 10th. And finally, Lantisex with 120 Invention on February 9th.
Okay, so we had Dark Spartans getting 99 Crafting on February 9th. Love Natural again, getting 99 Divination on February 8th. Also on February 8th, we had Luke Todal? I'm sorry if I got that wrong. Getting 120 Dungeoneering, and Pharox Kratos, that's a terrible pronunciation, getting 99 Prayer on February 8th. And finally, Jaguar 007 getting 99 Smithing on February 7th.
Nice achievements, everyone.
That's very nice.
I got 99 Fishing as well, but I'm just going to, put that out there.
Oh, I wonder why.
There you go.
I wonder why you're not in here. Do you have your forum name listed on the Clan Quest website? Because that's where we pull from. Or no? I pulled from the Clan Quest roster. When did you get that?
Oh, it was this month.
Oh.
I think.
Okay.
Either way.
Oh, we probably announced it then. All right. Well, congratulations nonetheless, and congratulations to everyone else. I do believe you have a pick of the week for us. So what do you got?
Yeah, so my pick of the week this week is Travis Knight's Bumblebee. I know I'm a bit late to the party on this one. It did come out in December in the UK, but I only got around to seeing it a couple of weeks ago, and I absolutely loved it. It is a reboot/prequel for the live-action Transformers films. And I don't know if you guys are fans of the Transformers films, but I'm a big fan of the comics and kind of the original TV show. I watched that a lot when I was a kid. And then Michael Bay's movies, the decades worth of live-action films we've had, they've been fun and they look good, but they've been, not that great. So I went and see Bumblebee thinking, okay, I'm not really expecting much, but it's an absolute revelation. It's so good. It's well told. Storytelling's great. The visuals are stunning. And Travis Knight has come from Laika Studios, which they've done Kubo and the Two Strings and Coraline, and they have this really lovely distinctive style of stop motion animation.
Oh, okay.
And what he's done, he's brought the principles behind animation storytelling and applied it to the live action stuff, and it works so well. Like it is, everyone go see it because it's really, really great. And kind of redeemed the live action Transformers films, in my opinion.
That's good because the Transformers films always just looked like glorified action movies with explosions and whatnot. So if this
that's basically what if you like explosions and if you like big robots punching each other and that sort of thing, then go see the Michael Bay movies because they're great for that. Yeah. And they really push the kind of the Hollywood visuals side of things. So they've done a lot on that front.
So you would say this one is more down to earth then?
This one's more down to earth. It's set in the 80s, which is really cute. Ooh, it's got a really nice banging 80s soundtrack. It's got a really good soundtrack.
That's cool.
But it's just got more of the heart that the original Transformers franchise has.
Does it kind of reminds you of the time period of the cartoons?
Yes, mostly because of the character designs.
Oh, okay,
They're all based on the G1 character designs, and the opening scene is set on Cybertron. I don't know how much you guys know about Transformers, but it's set on the home planet. Mm-hmm. None of the characters are named in the opening sequence apart from Bumblebee and Optimus Prime. But I went through it and I recognized every single one of them because of their designs were based on the original designs. And I loved that. That was nice.
See, those would be the ones that I would actually remember.
Yeah, kind of from the 80s and 90s. Yeah. So if you like that, I would recommend going and see it because you'll sit through the first couple of minutes thinking, oh, look, there's Starscream, there's this, there's that, and it's so good.
I'm almost sold, but I need to know. I'm almost
sold, too. Normally, I'm not a fan of these
is
kind
Megan
of
Fox
movies,
in it?
But...
No, Megan Fox isn't in it, and she was a big bonus in the original ones. I'll give her that.
Yes, she was. My favorite part.
The female lead is Haley Steinfeld, and she's really good. Like from an acting point of view, she does a really nice job. Her story is very sweet. But who watch it for the human side of things? You watch it to go, what, robots punching each other. So
yes. Yes.
But yeah, if you like that, if you like the Transformers franchise, like the original ones, definitely go and see it.
Alrighty, that's a good pick of the week. I like the passion, and it definitely sounds like it was a good show.
It was. There's a rumor that Travis Knight is then doing a Cybertron-based Transformers film.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
If that's true, I'm going to watch it so many times.
See, and I don't know anything about their homeworld, really. I mean,
Oh,
I don't remember much, really, at all. Because, I mean, when they were really big when I was young, and I had a lot of the, like, Transformer toys and stuff, you know, the action stuff, because that was cool, and I remember watching the cartoons a lot. I was never real big on comics. I never read very many. But
there's been a recent run of comics by IDW that I've recently got into, and they're very, very good.
Okay.
Like, kind of being respectful of the original content, adding in a lot of really cool new stuff. So they're a good place to get started.
Okay. Cool.
Alrighty. So before we wrap this up, what have you been up to this week on RS Tennis?
Finally finished my trimmed custom fit masterwork.
Nice.
And I finished it, and I logged the hell off. And I came back the next day. But yeah, just a little Slayer and finishing up that, and that man, it was a process. It was a process, but I'm very glad to have it. It's all augmented. It's got all my Slayer perks on there, and I'm ready to roll.
Nice.
Alrighty. How about you, Diana?
I've been very slowly working on maxing out this year. This is my New Year's resolution is to get 99 across the board. I'm getting quite close. It's happening a lot faster than I thought it would do.
Yeah, it happens quick, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, everything's kind of mid to high 90s now, and I've got 299s. I'm trying to get as many as I possibly can to 98, and then just spam the hell out of everyone and get my string of 99s, because I think that'd be funny. But I'm hoping to get that by the end of the year at the latest, so I'm probably going to happen much sooner. But that's basically just been skilling, just constantly skilling.
Very cool. There's no grind like the max grind. It about broke me, but at the same time, I loved it. Well, it was different, man. I mean, yeah.
It was different for me because it just happened.
Yeah, see, you got yours just through pure preservation, I think. Like, just
well, I wasn't even trying to max.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you just, you know, you've been at it for so long that you're bound to max eventually, you know? Like, because you kept saying, I don't even want to. Oh, I don't know. Oh, I don't care if I max. I'm like, come on, dude. You got to max. Like, you can't be that close and not try to max. But
that's kind of what I was thinking with mine. Like, I looked at my stats at the start of January and I thought, you know what, I'm so close now, I might as well do it seriously. Because I've got my Quest Point cape, and Master Quest cape's still a bit far off for me, so this is my thing to do in the meantime.
See, and when I hit, like, level 70s and a bunch of I'm like, okay, it's max time. And then that was my single-minded goal until I did it.
That's like, a long time from 70.
It was. That's why I said there was no grind like the max grind.
All right. Well, as for me this week, herb farming, I am at 3,500 out of the 5,000 herbs I need for double XP weekend. But if I don't manage to farm them all in time, I do have the funds just sitting there to purchase the remaining 2,000 or so Toad Flex that I'll need for double XP weekend, and that's 120 Herblore banked.
Ooh, look at Daddy Big Stacks over here.
Yeah, and that's going to be about 5,000 Saradomin brews.
Nice.
You going to sell those to David?
I could.
Yeah, right? That's what
I could, yeah.
Like, I got your order, man. I got you.
Yep. But aside from that, just some mining, took advantage of a couple of Traherne hours for some dark Animika. Still going through my ram hammers.
So good.
Yeah. Some gem mining, but that's about it. Just keeping the farm going. The player-owned farm. Came back to it last week in full, doing all the pens except for the small ones. I stopped doing the medium ones, but I'm doing the medium ones and the large ones now, so that'll be good. But aside from that, not too much, so I think we can say that that's pretty much it for this episode of RSBANDB Update. If you guys want to join us in-game, you can find us at Friends Chat Bits Bytes, and of course Twitter at RSBANB, and our full show notes at update.rsbnb.com. And with that, I will say that I would highly recommend that everybody be watching the RSBANDB Twitter feed come Monday, because we do have something pretty fun to announce for Double XP Weekend on for next week's podcast, and we'll be announcing that early next week on Twitter. So be sure to watch there at RSBANDB for what we got coming in store for Double XP Weekend. So with that being said, we'll see you next weekend for Double XP Weekend and a very fun and special RSBANDB update. Take care, everyone.
See ya.
Bye-bye.